Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi barakatuh, everybody. You're probably looking at your screen going, that's a scrumptious looking black man. And you're right. My name's Preacher Mars, comedian extraordinaire. Now, brothers and sisters, you're probably saying, what looks better than that black man right there? I'll tell you. The thought of giving the people in need and assisting them when they need it. Sounds good to me. With that, I introduce the Launch Good Ramadan Challenge. Again, that's the Launch Good Ramadan Challenge, which I'll be highlighting on my show, the ShOUT Show, the last 10 days of Ramadan. Now, brothers and sisters, don't miss out. I'm going to tell you why. I am a good looking black man, yes. I'm a comedian extraordinaire, yes. But the Ramadan Launch Good campaign is a dope project. And I tell you, if you join, you might actually be as dope as me. Now, some of you going, Preacher Moss, I've heard people talk about the Launch Good Ramadan Challenge. What makes your message so different? I'll tell you why. I have a fireplace. Flame on. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi barakatuh, everybody. I'm Preacher Mars, host of the SOS to Shout Out Show. I hope you're having a fabulous Tuesday. For a lot of people, Tuesday leads into Wednesday, and Wednesday is going to be the last day of Ramadan. So I hope everybody's finishing out their fast. You're finding things spiritual, successful, and meaningful. You took some value out of this fast other than being hungry, being thirsty, a couple other things, and having bad breath. So those things I just want to throw out there right there. I want to give a special shout out, of course, one of our Shout Out Show family members, Sister Ree, who lost her aunt in Michigan, Aunt Carolyn. So we want to make sure that we send some love and duas that way. As well, there's some people I want to shout out to. I want to shout out Olive Branch Wilson Family Services in Houston, Texas, doing a great thing with the toy drive and food distribution. Again, that's the toy drive and food distribution. If you get a chance to go to Launch Good, check them out on the Launch Good site. That's Olive Branch Muslim Family Services. So it's kind of a packed show today. I also want to give a shout out to our brothers and sisters in Palestine. When I say our brothers and sisters in Palestine, I just don't mean the Palestinian, the Muslims. I mean there are people who are affected worldwide. And I understand that there's a moral imperative that we're looking at over in the Middle East. I spoke about it yesterday, but I think I might have left one or two things out. One of the fact is nobody wins in that situation. Let me say this: nobody wins in that situation. I have talked about at length this whole environment about absolutism. For me to be right, you must be wrong. For you to be right, I must be wrong. And there's no flexibility, and it just plays out in politics as we see it so much today. But today I want to move away from that. My duas are with those people, and I really, really pray for a speedy and meaningful resolution, because this is just a flare up. This is indicative of a problem that's been going for a very, 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 very long time. So I want to move off from that. I want to also give a shout out to anybody who's coming on the show for the first time. Thank you for spending a little time with us, stopping through. We are not a big podcast, but I want to say we're a well-intentioned podcast, and we have great people on the show. Like I said, I'm the host. I help maintain and manage the flow of the platform, but the people that come on, they're the ones who make this thing special. Okay. Beyond that, there's some people who have been reaching out who have not actually, been in the comment section. I want to thank you for your support. I'm not calling you invisible. I'm calling you invincible. I appreciate your support and thank you so much. When you're trying to do something, whether it's entertainment, whether it's law, whether it's business, whether it's family, it's so much. It means so much to have people not just in your corner, but I'm talking about well-intentioned and well-informed people in your corner. So sometimes when you bounce an idea off of somebody, it's not some foreign idea, it's not some alien idea. People go, you know what, I can roll with bits and parts of it to make what you're talking a reality. A physical reality, a spiritual reality, a metaphysical reality. These are the things that we deal with on the Shout Out Show. So, yesterday we talked about the issue between Palestinians and Israelis. Yeah, I talked about property, and I wanted to be a bit of a theme. You know, I've always looked at the Middle East conflict, and this is a business arrangement. This is a business arrangement, and in this business arrangement, it deals with externalities. I don't know if you guys ever seen. There's a documentary called The Corporation. Dave Chappelle referred me to that years ago. The Corporation, and it was this concept of externalities, which means for me to get to C, I may not be able to do A. Right? It means that there's a meaningful and a palpable absence of something you're not being able to do. But to flip it around, it's also this idea. And that's opportunity cost. That's not actually externalities. For me to do A, I may not be able to do B on the way to C. That's of course, that is opportunity cost. Externalities means that I want to buy that house. I want the house. I want the property. Here's the problem: there are people that live in that house. So if I figure out a way to get them out of the house without having to pay them for the house, then they're just externalities. There are things that are causal that I don't necessarily have to deal with fairly or equitably. So I move beyond that. Now, before we get started with that, brothers and sisters, I want to give a shout out to people who are in the comment section. Let's get our shout outs. Let's get our shout outs to family out here, brothers and sisters. First, we got Sister Ree. Thank you so much, Ree, for coming on the show. Brother Derek, I'm glad you guys are enjoying your stay in D.C. Thank you for coming to visit on my mom and by the most positive serendipity, being able to hang out with Aunt Maxine. I appreciate you. Next up, we got Altaf Rashid. Altaf, brother, this might be your topic, man. And if you feel like jumping in, please jump in. I know you had some comments yesterday, and I appreciate those comments. But I'm going to talk about something today because I feel like we're not really talking about it in communities of color. I don't feel like we're talking about it in communities of color. So I felt, I want to say that I felt obligated once I have been going through this because I'll be honest, this started out as research for a joke about how businesses operated before, during, and after the pandemic. And it became quickly, not a joke, it quickly became homework. So wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Brother Altaf, our ambassador, our Canadian ambassador to the show, the Shout Out Show. How many shows have an ambassador? Well, don't think too hard. One, it's us. Shout out to Brother Altaf. And Sister Aika. I guess we could make Sister Aika ambassador from Indonesia. Maybe. We'll talk about it. Sister Aika, thank you so much for coming on the show, the Shout Out Show. We appreciate you, and we hope things are going well in Indonesia. This is her last day, brothers and sisters, because they are 12 hours ahead. She's going to her last day of the fast. So you will get there before us. Congratulations on a successful fast, and may Allah continue to reward you with your new business, your catering business, and we hope that things flourish beyond Ramadan and you get a steady group of clients and you grow your revenue and just enjoy yourself. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And I want to give a shout out to my brother, Johnny Thomas. JT hit me up today. He was like, you remind me of a Muslim. Was like, hey, is this the last day? No, brother. We got one more day. One more day, man. I am absolutely proud. I am, I'm proud. I'm enthusiastic. I'm renewed to see that you took part in the fast with your brother. You went from day one to last day. And I hope that you will consider when we get together that we'll have our own Eid, if you will. We'll have our own big iftar. We'll have the family together, and we'll celebrate this momentous occasion of just kind of spiritually crossing a finish line. You know how important that is to spiritually cross the finish line. I think that's why I like Ramadan so much. And a lot of people have said this. I'm not alone, but Ramadan went really really quickly this year. I don't know why. I don't know if we were just really really anticipating it, but now that it's one day away, I'm sort of like, man, I'm almost not wanting to go back to the way I was handling business back in April. I'm like, I like the way I have this, and I'm actually considering extending my fast after the 6 days of Shaban and just get back to regular fasting. I was blessed a couple years ago to do an extended fast for 2 years, and I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, it really, really helped me pace my life, my business life, my personal life, my family life, and my business life for the most part. So I feel good coming out of Ramadan. I will make the wall for it just like everybody else. Who else we got? We got our consultant producer, Sister Sultana Whitfield, who will be hosting the show on Saturday, brothers and sisters. Your brother got to work. Things are loosening up a little bit, and I have to take this work. But I'm hoping I might be able to peek in on the show. But I know that you are in more than capable hands with Sister Sultana. She has done amazing things, and she has some lead in to get her show together. She's going to do her show, and I'm very excited to see that. Because Sister Tana, yeah, you have to be like my friend Ali Sadiq. I love this guy. Ali Sadiq said something to me when I was doing some research for a paper. He's a very funny comedian, and he's not shy about telling he spent some time in prison, about 6 years. And I asked him, I said, what is the thing that makes you different than a lot of brothers that are coming home? And he said something that stuck to me. And it reminds me of you. He said, man, he said, I'm out of prison. He said, man, every day I'm like a bird. He said, every day I'm like a bird. And I said, what do you mean? He said, man, it doesn't matter what I'm going through, ups and downs, ins and outs, hardship, trials, tribulations. He said, in the end, he said, I have absolute confidence that Allah is going to take care of me, that Allah is going to provide. And that's what the feeling we have with the Shout Out Show. Sister Tana, you should check out some of Sister Tana's posts on Facebook. Very inspirational, very spiritual. And it reminds me of all this type of stuff. You know what? We're going to survive. God's going to take care of us. All right. So we got our Eids out, and got some congratulations, brother JT. You got one more day now. You ain't crossed the finish line just yet. Let's see how I'm doing that. Just yet. No. You crossed the finish line when you started, brother. That's the way I feel about it. So today's topic, brothers and sisters, let me change my camera angle. Today's topic is understanding the dangers and of economy data. Now, some of you are going to preach, what is this economy data? Well, the economy data is us. What kind of toothpaste you buy, how long you stay on the computer, what kind of car you drive, how many times a week you go to the grocery store, how much Bitcoin you have. It's data. And there's nothing wrong with data. We've talked about social media. If you participate in social media, you're a part of the economy data. Plain and simple. Your Instagram, your tweets, we don't own them. You throw them out. We're in a virtual economy now. We don't own our expressions a lot of times when we go through social media. This is no big deal. But what is important is the aspect of understanding how our data is used. Let me say that again. We have to begin to understand how our data is used. And the economy data is interesting because the economy data ties into what's called market power. Now, there's a book called Market Power in the Economy. It's edited by Wallace C. Patterson. I think the whole thing is Market Power in the Economy, Industrial, Corporate, and Political Aspects. I'm reading this book not because I want to. I'm reading this book because I have to. A jobs report recently came out, and there was a huge disparity in terms of the amount of jobs that they thought there were and the amount of jobs that actually, the actual number as opposed to the projection. And you start looking at the projection, you start hearing these things about brothers and sisters. Oh, employers have these jobs, but nobody wants to nobody wants to work the jobs. They can't find employees. Blah, yada, yada, yada. Chipotle, the criminals at Chipotle are trying to lay out situations where people work for Chipotle for 3 years, you make $100,000, even though you rip people off. You hear all these things, and I'm like, what am I really hearing through the noise? And what I was hearing through the noise, brothers and sisters, was market power. Market power. Why don't you hear market power? Because as individuals, we don't have it. Economy data, we give people market power. Some of your favorite people. It could be Google. It could be Apple. Look, I'm talking about Google. I'm on Google Chrome right now. I'm talking about Apple. I'm in Apple right now. I'm using the Apple computer right now. So I'm already in the system. But market power is interesting because market power allows people to function somewhat as a monopoly, a de facto monopoly. We don't necessarily have the palpable strength. I don't think we necessarily have a meaningful lobby to address these people who have market power. And I'm saying that the people have market power over pretty much all aspects of your life. The airline business, it's only a few people, a few airlines, the powerful ones, that run the airlines. Agriculture, farming. You have maybe 3 to 5 superpower agricultural companies that set the price for everything that comes to the market. Imagine you're a farmer and you can't set your own price because you're locked out of a system. And that's one thing about the market power. When we talk about Google and Facebook and all these aspects, Instagram, and it's interesting. Even Twitter. It's interesting that these people, look at Twitter. Twitter was able to shut down the president. Think about that. Twitter was able to shut down the president. Facebook was able to shut down the president. A president who had lost his mind, and he had benefited from these two social medias, but when it came time to shut them down, they shut him down. And people say, why? I would like to think that has a lot to do with the shareholders of Twitter and Facebook. But it doesn't. I think it has to do with the data. The data starts coming back that people are not necessarily liking what they see. And you can change your data. You can take the data, but if the data is not favorable, then the companies have to make, of course, an adjustment. In market power, it doesn't happen that often. It doesn't happen that often. And when I say it doesn't happen that often, what I'm saying is the power that they hold as de facto monopolies, if you will, means that they don't have to change. That they don't really have to change. So the jobs that we talk about, a lot of people don't realize those jobs used to be middle-class jobs. In the pandemic, they're still important jobs, but they don't have middle-class pay. They have lower-class pay. And the incentive is, where else are you going to go? Where else are you going to go? That's why I always say it's so important to be an entrepreneur. Where else are you going to go? If you control my industry, what is it I'm going to offer as compelling evidence for you to treat me fair? For you to say, hey, listen, Preach or Satana or JT or Ree or Ika or Althoff, let me do right by you. There's no inspiration to do that. I worked for years in the NFL, not in the NFL. I did a consulting for the NFL. And one of the things the NFL showed me is how a monopoly works. Now, this is no knock on the NFL. What I'm saying is they're the only game in town. They're the only game in town. I was talking to JT earlier about a player who, was done poorly, Colin Kaepernick. And you say, why would Colin Kaepernick keep going back to the NFL? I'll tell you why, JT. Because the NFL has a monopoly. He can't play football anywhere else unless he goes back and starts playing in college or community college. You ever notice in master's graduate school, there's no football teams? There's no basketball teams? Because the value isn't there. And what we've done and I admit full culpability, is that we've given them power. We've given them power. We're seeing record profits from these corporations. Record profits. They have no reason to rein themselves in. So record profits means that I'm going to lend to the poverty of someone else, and so be it. If record profits mean that I can lower the quality of my product and still charge a higher price, then so be it. Whether it's insurance, whether it's in manufacturing, if I have a monopoly and that is my position and that's my relationship that I have with all the other distributors, all the other sales outlets, then I can do literally what I want to do, including shutting down your market. Thank you, Nike. Nike is a prime example of a monopoly, brothers and sisters. I know you're saying, hey, what about the other shoes, the Reeboks and Adidas and well, let's look at market share in terms of the market share that Nike has. They have a dynasty. I like Adidas, but Adidas doesn't have a Air Jordan line. Michael Jordan has made more money outside of basketball than he ever made in basketball. He's a billionaire off of the name and his logo on the shoes. Big shout out to Michael Jordan because he realized Nike has market power. If I go with Nike, I can have market power. And he leveraged it. What am I going to say now? The largest scope of this thing is a case study like Nike. And I would tell everybody, when you start talking about market power, understanding economic data, we give away information constantly. It is the bane of the oppressed. It is the bane of black society. It's the bane of the poor. The one thing that we have, information, we give it away freely. We give it away under the pretense oftentimes that we're going to get something for it. You may get something for it, but it's nothing in terms of being a fair exchange. They take your information, your data, and literally make you slaves to your own data. Let me give you an example of Nike. You may not know this is going on. You probably do know it's going on. But let me throw this out here to you because it can happen to you. Nike recently went through an evaluation process, and it's been going on maybe the last 3-4 years. And what Nike realized was that they could make more money and charge more money on their website for their shoes than if they go through all of these distributors that they've used for tons of years. Your Finish Lines, your Foot Lockers, your mom and pop stores. The people who actually helped Nike be who they were, the people who took a chance on Nike. Some of them have relationships with Nike that go back 30, 40, 50 years. Not that far. Let's say 40 years. Now I'm saying how old I am. Case in point. You still have people who are putting out Nike products, shoes, apparel, everything with that swoosh. Nike recently sent out a letter to some of these people and said, you know what? It's been a good run. I appreciate you. But check this out. We will no longer be sending our product to your store. We'll no longer be doing business with you. You will no longer be allowed to carry our line of product. Do you realize how devastating that can be to a business? They're literally putting the people out of business and eliminating competition. That is market power, brothers and sisters. Plain and simple. Imagine you went into a Foot Locker and there was no Nike row. Imagine you went to your local store to buy a Nike shirt. They had 10 Nike shirts there. All of a sudden, there's no Nike shirts. There's no Nike aisle. A lot of people generally make a decision based on the fact that that product isn't there. That what kind of store can this be if they don't carry that product, that brand? And Nike has slowly meandered and figured out and weeded out all these people who they don't want to do business with. And even some of the major chains find themselves, being moved off the distribution list for Nike. Why? As I told you right up front, they created and realized they have a monopoly. If I don't have to deal with competition, I can take a shoe that's normally $100 and I can charge $175 or $150. Now that price markup may seem nominal, but if you're doing it over sales of 50 million units, or 2 million units, whatever it is, that's a lot of money. And you don't have to deal with shipping. You don't have to deal with uh, staging. It's all on the internet. I'm thinking this is the craziest thing in the world. But you know what? Also, they don't have to deal with staff. They don't have to deal with marketing. They don't have to deal with public relations. They don't have to deal with sales reps. So all that money now is just going. And I can think of Google. Think of Facebook. Facebook is a monopoly. I don't care what anybody says. Facebook is a monopoly. It's a monopoly. I'm going to tell you why. Because Facebook has an algorithm that can give you the good and it can give you the bad. It can give you the good and give you the bad. It can give you the good because it can legitimately tell you or tell people, what folks are buying, what the trends are. But it can give you the bad because it can tell you what's trending, what's going on, and you can have situations, scenarios where you can say, well, I can twist that algorithm a little bit, and I can get what I want. And it leaves the masses unprotected. Now, this is not meant to be a down conversation, not at all. This is meant to be an informative conversation because it has everything to do with me and it has everything to do with you. You're now going to have a situation where gas prices are going to be easily over $3 on the average because somebody compromised a pipeline. Now, we don't know how much the pipeline was compromised, but all of the oil companies say we don't care. It's an opportunity to hike up prices to $3 on a tank of gas, knowing that the refinery cost we might have paid, 75 cents. And they'll ride that as much. And you can't argue. You know why? Because we can't make gas. We can't make oil. The airlines are going to say prices have to go up on airlines because jet fuel. You're not even talking crude, but jet fuel. All of a sudden, airline prices go up on tickets. And you know why? We can't do anything. Why? Because we don't make planes and we darn sure don't fly planes. Welcome to market power, the de facto monopoly system and scenario that stands, brothers and sisters, to kill our economy. There's always a little bit of trickery here and there. People saying folks don't want to go to work because they got this stimulus check and they're unmotivated. That's not that. There's situation scenarios of people who are near and dear to me, and I watch them go to work knowing that going to work costs them money. Going to work costs them money. The daycare was X amount of dollars, and this is what they made it work. They said, it's easy for me to just stay here and watch my own child because the daycare it costs too much. It's interesting, and I won't go too far. I know this time has gone really quick. I just want people to think about this whole idea of market power, and what effects it has on our economy. The price of everything is going up. The price of everything is going up. I just went to the grocery store today. What I used to pay for $2.48 for a loaf of wheat bread is now $3.08. And I have to sit there, and all I can do is be mad. You know why? Because I don't make bread. Bananas used to be 49 cents a pound, now they're 58 cents. I don't grow the bananas. I got the pineapple on sale, but it's like you got to eat it in the next 15 minutes while it's still fresh. But the meats, chicken, the fish, all that, everything's going up. So even if you get the job and you're working, doesn't mean that your wages are going to go up. And the question is probably not. The question is, the answer is probably I don't think so. Because nobody has a fiduciary responsibility to be fair to you. The fiduciary responsibility is we want to make sure that we increase profits for our shareholders. So I'm going to get out of this bag and I'm going to close out here. But I want everybody to start thinking about market power. Because it's going to become a bigger issue as we move into, things loosening up. Because by everybody's estimation, things are loosening up, but the money's not going to be there. You're going to go back to the same job, but you might make the same money, but the cost of everything is now higher. And you say, why is it higher? Who can we talk to about bringing down the prices? You can't talk to anyone about bringing down the prices because we are in the throes of the rise and the galvanization of market power. Check out that book, brothers and sisters, Market Power in the Economy, Industrial, Corporate, Governmental, and Political Aspects. Make sure you check that out. I'm maybe about 45, 50 pages into it. And we may come back to the subject. But actually, I'm thinking about bringing Brother Shahid Atalala to come back. You know, our serial entrepreneur. I'm thinking about bringing him back to talk about some of this stuff. So listen, let me go ahead and wrap up because we're already at our time. You guys have been great. A big shout out to our sponsor. Again, that's BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. Again, that's BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. If you don't want to go to the website, you can call. The human voice will answer the phone, I guarantee, at 1-800-679-3175. Again, that's 1-800-679-3175. All right, we also want to give a shout out to Bayan Islamic Graduate School. Again, that's Bayan Islamic Graduate School. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Not even coming on the show, but just being a part of the Ramadan 30 for 30. Tomorrow is the last day for the Ramadan 30 for 30. Man, I'm still trying to figure out where 20-some days went, to be truthful with you. But I'm happy that people came on and it made it fun. The ads were fun. I thought they were fun. And the conversation was brilliant. And when I say brilliant, I'm talking about people who are my Shout Out Show family, some of the ideas that you brought, some of the comments that you made, they resonated. And I appreciate it. And some of them resonate to the point it led me to this whole thing about talking about market power. So I also want to give a shout out to Launch Good. I hope that things are very, very successful for the Launch Good Ramadan Challenge. I know they've raised a lot of money, and a lot of charities have been in there trying to win those contests because you can't turn on your phone without it getting blown up. Celebrate mercy. But other than that, brothers and sisters, I've had a great time. I hope some of this information was useful to you. And I will be investigating this further. I think this is something that we do need to talk about as we try to recover. One from COVID, but also looking at the economic impact that the pandemic had on all of us. You've heard me reiterate the statistics. 91% of black businesses, black entrepreneurs, none of them got any PPP. 91% didn't get PPP. They didn't get assistance from the government. You've heard me say statistics like 47% of black businesses won't be returning after the pandemic. You just heard me give a case study of what Nike is doing. Who buys Nike shoes? Usins, exactly. And here we are. What are they doing with Nike shoes? They've set us up. They literally set us up. They know we buy the shoes, and then they put it on the website. They're like, people are coming to the website. What do I need the person for? So they get rid of them. All right, that's neither here nor there. I'm going to bounce. You guys have been amazing. And big shout outs. Again, Sister Ree, praying for your family. Mama son, get healthy. Don't do too much. I'm asking you still my aunt, even though you put me on blast on the Mother's Day show for being a horrible driver. I still love you. It's all right. I still will drive you to Danville when you need me to. And I ain't stopping. You better go before we leave. All right, Sister Satana, thank you for working the back. Everybody will see you tomorrow, inshallah. I'm Preacher Mark, Sister ShOUT. Hey everybody, this is your brother Preacher Moss. Listen, I hope that you enjoyed your Shout Out Show experience. We'll be back with the next show, the next Shout Out Show. A simple ask before you go, please help your brother out. Click that subscribe button, click that notify button, and I'll see you again on this side of the microphone. You probably wonder what that smell is. That's me. I smell good. And the reason I smell good is because I use oils from Tar. So I'm not saying you can't smell good. I'm not even saying you stink. I'm saying you have the opportunity to smell exquisite. Check out tarifatar.com for some of the best oils and scents in town.